Hello, dear friends. How are you doing today? Hope you guys doing good. Gabby here. I was thinking about my life today, reminiscing my old times. I was thinking about my choices, decisions, what I would have done differently, what I think I did right. But shouldn't be stuck in the past. But I think I had a good life, but it's important to think about it once in a while, about the good times. It all started in 2004 when my mom and my dad met. They got married in January of 2008, and in May of 2009, they found out God had a little surprise for them. Yep, that was me. That's the few drinks my mom had when she didn't know she was pregnant. Her pregnancy was healthy and I was growing as it should have. I was due in early February around my dad's birthday. I guess I didn't want to share my birthday because after only 33 weeks, I was born on December 20th, 2009 at 7:02 p.m. The first 2 weeks were rough. I had to be sent to the NICU to take antibiotics due to my lungs being underdeveloped. All types of stuff happened to me in those 2 weeks. I got pneumonia, cerebral hemorrhage, and then a respiratory arrest. They had to intubate me, and they were really trying to prepare my family for the worst. But thanks to a lot of medication, I got better, and on January 1st of 2010, I got discharged. To be honest, I don't even know how I survived, but I'm here today. After surviving such a chaotic start to my life, things started to settle down as I began to grow a bit. As a baby, I was very agitated. I would cry a lot, and I would have a hard time going to sleep. Later on, they discovered that I was crying because I had a real bad lactose intolerance, but that's another story. This lack of sleep and being a premature baby are all factors for my lack of growth. That's why I'm like 5 at the big age of 15. Luckily, my cognitive abilities were not affected so much by those, and my cognitive development was normal, if not quicker than an average kid. Even though I grew up with a huge extended family by my side, I would only let my parents and a few close family members hold me. Anyone else who would try to hold me, it would not work. I would cry like an ambulance. And this is basically what trust versus mistrust explains. But even though I didn't let them hold me, I was very fond of them. I grew up going all to their houses, laughing, having fun, and growing up with all this love and attention made me feel safe, confident, and ready to explore the world. For anatomy versus shame and doubt, you can see that I was a very independent baby. I would explore my surroundings and I wanted to do things on my own. And just like that, my gross and fine motor movements were developed and mastered. Unfortunately, even though I could form syllables and somehow read, I still sounded like a minion when I would speak. No, yeah, it was really bad. They did many types of testing to find out if I was deaf, if I was mute, hyperlexic. They even hypothesized I could have been somehow autistic. But after many doctors, speech therapists, and even an EEG, they found out there was nothing abnormal about me. And around 3.5 years old, I started speaking, and I didn't really stop since then. Once I got past the baby stage and finally started speaking, my personality began to show. I became very extroverted. I wanted to explore new things, be around people, especially adults, and try new things. This is initiative versus guilt in real time. I had freedom to explore my surroundings, and I would also try to be a leader for my brother and my cousins as I was the oldest among them. I would spend a lot of time with my brother, and we would play pretend, do YouTube videos, and...
Tá na máscara da Ladybug, eu sei que essa tá meio esquisita, né, gente? É do Cat Noir. É do Cat Noir, gente. Esse tá aqui com o meu irmãozinho.
This is all part of the pre-operational stage. From there, I wanted to experience all types of things. Sewing, cooking, ballet, baking, karate, surfing, skating, literally anything I could have access to. This is all part of a healthy industry versus inferiority stage. But as I entered 3rd grade, I had some classmates make fun of my looks, especially of my height, weight, and personality. As I said before, I was always shorter than my peers, and they did not let that slide this time. That heavily affected me long term, as this made me develop self-esteem problems later on. Even though I was an open kid to my parents, they had to talk to me a lot to understand the hardships I was going through. I would not talk about the bad things happening to me. I had a great childhood, but the little that I know, I was about to enter the messiest stage of my life. Puberty hit me out of nowhere and everything just started going downhill from there. I first started seeing signs during the quarantine, so you can only imagine how it was. I started to become more angry, trying to isolate myself and this type of moody stuff. I also started having major self-esteem problems due to the drastic changes in my body and also due to the jokes made about my looks throughout my childhood. My self-image became a big part of my life, especially during my teenage years, where this would become my only priority at times. We know that I'm not tall, but at around age 10, my parents noticed I was like really short. So they took me to a doctor and they found out that I had a growth hormone deficiency. So I had to take some medicine to grow a bit. And if you think 5'1" is short, I was gonna be like 4'8" without the hormones. So to complicate things even more, at the age of 11, I left my home country and moved to Miami. Being away from my family I've grown up so close to was harder than I expected. The safety net I always relied on was suddenly gone and it really affected my mental health. I had to learn a new language, make new friends, and adapt my personality to fit a completely different culture. I struggled with anxiety, isolation, and a lot of self-doubt, turning into a pretty gloomy kid for a while. Throughout middle school, I've constantly moved schools with a grand total of 3 schools in 3 years, which really set me back socially. It was not until the end of 8th grade that I found my now friends. Before all of that, they were either toxic or they just dropped me out of the nowhere. And I won't even talk about romantic relationships, as I expected with everything happening to me, it felt wrong dating someone. My preteen years was around the phase where I entered stage 4 of Piaget's theory, the formal operational stage, where I started making sense of abstract concepts. This helped me adapt to my environment and understand possible scenarios that could occur to me depending on my actions. As I was learning the language, I wasn't doing as well in school because I literally could not understand the teacher. But as I became fluent in English, I could prove to people that I wasn't as dumb as I sounded, and at the end of the day, I managed to keep considerably good grades in middle school. As I transitioned from middle to high school, I started heavily experiencing identity versus role confusion, where I was trying to find out who I was and what were my goals and aspirations in life. Getting used to a new school with new people was hard for me, especially when I was just getting used to middle school. But I met some pretty cool people who I can call my friends. During all of that, I met Ian. At first he was just my friend because I would mentally block the idea of being in a romantic relationship. But after months, we started dating at the end of freshman year. He taught me a lot about how to be a better partner and a better person in life. Around that time, my personality started to change a bit, where I became just a little bit less agitated and I learned how to do the right things in the right timing. From there, I graduated high school and then college. I was a lot better at problem solving as I had really hard decisions to make. In college, I majored in architecture and I specialized in interior designing, so I had a pretty stable career over life. And as I got older, I went through intimacy versus isolation, where I would have existential crisis because I was scared of being alone for life. But I ended up getting married and settling down. I've become less irritable, more open to challenges, and wiser, and I kept a couple of good friends. As I entered middle age, I started seeing changes in my body due to the lack of hormones. I gained weight, lost hair, lost energy, and I also wanted to make a change in the world. This is when generativity versus stagnation came into play. I refused to stay still and I helped my family and my community by being an active part of it. And after all of that, life slowed down again as I entered my older years. My fluid intelligence decreased. I became more open. Now I just watch TV and travel around. This is peak retirement right there. Integrity versus despair is hitting real hard right now. See, I'm literally thinking about my life choices to see if it was good enough. But you know what? I think it was. Even though I'm slower, saggier, I'm not healthy, and I'm almost legally blind, I think I'm happy. I had a good life. Now I can go. Peace.